Hello, America. I'm Rob the accountant, and I like to help people build companies, and I just like to help people. And as Kamala Harris is sitting around pondering whether she's going to run again in 2028, please don't. She shouldn't. I think I figured out what MAGA actually stands for. MAGA actually stands for Make America Broke. MAGA equals Make America Broke. No? You don't think so? Let me show you how. I'll try to be quick. I'll try not to run off on tangents, even though I like to run off on tangents. So, let's start with the 12-day war. Because, I'm going to sound like a broken record over and over and over and over again. We're a Judeo-Christian nation, whatever the fuck that means. I guess that means we're the biggest killing nation in the world in the name of Christ. But the 12-day war, the United States spent probably more than $2 billion, but at least $2 billion that the sources out there are saying, right? And so you could look at it, 125 aircrafts, right? Think about all that. You got to put pilots in those planes. You got to fuel those planes. And all these things are great, right? Because war costs money, and war and death equals more money because it just keeps destroying shit that you've got to, keep rebuilding so you can destroy it again. And so why are we going to war with Iran? While I divert on that issue, we're simply going to war on Iran for this simple reason, America. In 1979, the Americans supported the Shah, who brutalized his people. Yep. Just like Venezuelan, Maduro's regime, the regime that was supported by America, the land of the free, home of the brave, allowed that regime to terrorize and brutalize its people. And when the people actually rose up as freedom fighters, like George Washington did, and Benjamin Franklin and our heroes here, as they rose up and fought the bad English, when these people rose up and fought and kicked out the Shah, right, and the actual Shah's descendant is living in America, very luxurious life right here, right, when they kicked him out, suddenly Iran's not America's friend anymore. We gave them F-14 fighter jets. We used them in our conflicts for whatever we were trying to solve in the rest of the world. But as soon as the people of that country started demanding their leaders start working for them, well, we shot them. We killed them. We labeled that country a terrorist regime, right? That's what we do. And it's just like, that's what we did with Venezuela. We don't like the guy, so we label him a terrorist regime. But how does that affect you? Does it put more money in your pocket? No, it doesn't. Look at these direct costs, right? 125 planes, all these interceptor costs, right? Why all this war when peace would solve all your issues, right? So this is just one issue, right? There's one issue. There's one part of MAGA, making America broke. Let's go over to drugs. Let's go over to Ozempic, right? In 2025, it was the most off-shelf prescribed drug, I believe, in the country. Okay, percentage-wise, who cares? It's up there in the top five at least. And everybody and their mother and every doctor in the world prescribed the drug. No problem. It's good to go. Let's do it. Insurance companies, let's help people. We're going to do it. But now at the end of 2025, most of the insurers, most of the countries, people who control the decisions related to health insurance and healthcare coverage pulled back that drug. So what does that mean? That means now the average person who is not a type 2 diabetic individual who requires Ozempic and needs it for any other off-shelf label will have a co-payment of $350 to $800 a month. Did you hear what I'm saying, MAGA? $350 to $800 a month. And the reality is that when most people get off of Ozempic, they return to their prior weight status probably in a month, 2 months, 3 months, but it's pretty much scientifically engineered so that if you come off the drug, you're going to go back to being fat, right? And that's just awful that's how we view our health sciences in America, and that's how we view our health insurance. But that is another point of MAGA making America broke. Let's continue. All right, let's go into electricity prices, right? The electricity prices, because we're seizing all this fucking oil, right? So my utility bill in one of the coldest winters in record in the last 20 years should be much cheaper, right? Should be cheaper? No, of course not. Some estimates suggesting a roughly 37% increase in price per kilowatt, which, by the way, excuse me, only comes out to about 18 or 20 cents a kilowatt. But that's more money on infrastructure that's been there for God knows how long have you lived there? How long did your people that lived there before they lived there? How many years do we have to subsidize the national grid that doesn't actually put any money back into the grid, but constantly changes us more money for electricity with the natural resources, including water and coal, that America as a whole provides to these utilities? When is our government going to step in and actually do their fucking job? But hey, MAGA, you just want to keep making America broke. Let's continue. All right, let's go on. Let's go on to healthcare. Oh God, I don't even need to speak on healthcare because I'm against the ACA subsidies because what? They're going to just enrich insurance companies. But, we need some kind of a plan. And I think I have a good plan. And if you want to see a good plan, you just come over here to robtheaccountant.com. You hit the little healthcare button, and you'll come and you'll see the plan that I think would be at least starting to have an impact on pooling group coverage so that as a group, as a nation, we can have healthcare that's affordable for everybody. So I'm not going to continue into the healthcare debate because, both the Democrats and the Republicans have failed us both miserably on it. And reality is that both Democrats and Republicans are more aligned with the drug companies and the durable goods manufacturers and all the sales process relative to healthcare, because it's pretty expensive when you get sick, right? You got a lot of co-payments you got to pay. Let's move on why MAGA equals Make America Broke. Foreign aid. Let's look at foreign aid, right? Look at all this foreign aid. Our government just piles loads of money out to the rest of the world. For whatever its reasons are, I don't care. I'm not here to say whether they're good reasons, bad reasons, whatever the reasons are. What I'm trying to say is, why are we pounding all this money out to everybody else while we have people on the streets of America suffering? We have people who can't afford their drug coverage. We have people who literally go hungry, not as a result of the money not being there, because of the delivery mechanisms that are there to actually feed children who have parents that may be hooked on drugs or other things. We don't have any of these things resolved at all. And one of the things that I see is that China, which seems to have a more bent strategy on making sure its citizens live better lives, and thus, since its citizens live better lives, they're willing to reduce their need or wants for individual rights, and that's a different discussion. But functionally, they make their society and the people of their society much better for their society to live in. And we just don't do that in America. So again, one more example on how MAGA is making America broke. Let's keep going on because it doesn't stop. Let's go into farming. Look at farming, our great tariff war, right? There are so many farmers in the Midwest. Yes, I know they voted for Trump, so we should freaking hate them all. Just because you have a different political ideology doesn't mean that you should be bankrupt for your thought position. Where are we as human beings, as a country that supports freedom for everybody, at the idea that if you don't agree with me, you're bad, and because you don't agree with me, you should have no money? I can't hold those kind of positions. It's kind of stupid. And my view is, if you try to take my money, well, FAA and FAFO, whatever, who cares? I'll probably give it to you because it's just money, but no, I probably really won't. I don't have any money. I'm broke still. I'm just saying, again, when you look at all these farmers, and then, so what does the government have to do? The government, which created the policy that made China not want to buy any of the soybeans from a market that it was nourishing for the last 10, 15 years, a market that it wants to buy from, but then Trump goes out and sticks his eye in all the Chinese people. They're beneath us. They're little people. Their eyes are different. They're flat or whatever. And it's but they're trying to help us out. They're trying to buy our stuff to feed their people, and by buying our stuff, it feeds our people. But we seem to have somebody in the White House that doesn't really understand economic policy or how it really works. And in a real world where you have efficiencies of scale, you can't go around being a bully, or people just choose to take their business elsewhere. That's how it works, and this is just one more example of how MAGA is making America broke. And then let's just hit on the final thing on manufacturing. All right, specifically liquor, because there should be no liquor closure in America. There should be no manufacturing issues with liquor. The Canadians, the Mexicans, they have been steadfast purchasers of our products for ever since we've started distilling products. But here we go once again, that when you go out and you call people, they should give up their Canadian culture and they should be part of America, and we hate them. This is one more way that MAGA is making America broke. I don't know how many more ways you folks need to go around and look at it. I don't know how many ideas that people need to say, oh, well, it's great to be a bully and the Department of War and all this stuff is good. But we're going to enter into another war that's going to cost American lives. We're going to enter into another war that's going to bankrupt America. We're suffering while the rest of the world takes its money and develops it towards its people, makes its people's lives better, while we here continue to work more hours, have less money, have less food, less opportunity. Why? Why isn't anybody saying anything? And so naturally the progression would be, well, I should be for the Democrats taking control in the midterms. But am I? What for? How is that going to help me? Is that going to make my life better? Is that going to make your life better? No, all they're going to do is run around and go back to gotcha. I mean, for example, I'm not against anybody. But when my senator in my state of New York brings forth some idea that a flag should be put up there with the flag of the United States of America that has sweat, blood, and tears on it, right? And that there's somehow a quo equaling, or that we should even be talking about a fucking flag at this period of time, just shows you how out of touch the left is and how bad MAGA continues to make America broke. I'm Rob. I hope this can change. I hope Kamala Harris stays out of the 28 election. I hope Gavin Newsom does. I hope all those sellouts who got us here, who for whatever reasons couldn't speak up when the time was to speak up, don't come back looking for people's vote. I'm tired. I know you're tired. But until we actually collectively start wanting to do something about it, nothing's going to change. I'm Rob. Bye for now.